Okay, so then I got Factory Girl, starring Sienna Miller, and this is about Edith, or Edie actually, Edie Sedgwick, who used to knock about with Andy Warhol back in the 60s, and I guess it would be a biopic of her life. I don't know how accurate it is. I took it with a good pinch of salt because it portrayed Andy Warhol as kind of like this bad guy who, I mean, not to begin with, but it ended up being that way, and her as very much a victim, which she probably was. I mean, it's not too depressing, but it's quite sad. Like, she died when she was 28, so you're kind of watching this and you're like, shit, she's so young and just doing this and she's gonna be dead soon. But a brilliant performance by Sienna Miller. Hayden Christensen is in it. He plays like a Bob Dylan character, or he's supposed to play Bob Dylan, but I don't think he was allowed to use the name, so they just call him the musician. But he's blatant Bob Dylan. He doesn't do too bad for him, actually. Guy Pearce is Andy Warhol. He does a good job. And Jimmy Fallon's in it. I didn't know what to make of him, actually. It was just kind of weird seeing him in this film. Maybe he was miscast, or maybe it was just me, I don't know. Yes. I thought it was very good. As I say, Sienna Miller did a really good job. She's really pretty anyway. She looks like Edie did, so that helps, but she does good. And it's called Factory Girl because Andy Warhol used to own this factory in New York, which is basically where they all hung out, did drugs, and he did his work. It's definitely worth checking out, and again, that is really cheap in the sale. So I got She's Having a Baby, which is one of the few John Hughes films I don't have. I think I've just about got room for it in my John Hughes section. Anyway, it stars Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern. The thing about this film is the title gives a bit of a wrong impression about it. Before I saw this film, I always thought it was about this young couple who got pregnant, and it was about that, but actually it's not. I mean, yes, a baby is involved at the end, but literally you follow these, they get married young and you kind of just follow them. It's mainly about Kevin Bacon's character. He's kind of unsure about where his life's going, and there's a bit where he's tempted, or he has fantasies about cheating, just stuff like that. It has a lot of fantasy sequences in it, which is a bit different. Like, it has a little bit of a different feel to John Hughes movies, but it's still very good. And the ending, the soundtrack is brilliant in this. It's got some great songs on it. And the ending with Kate Bush's This Woman's Work, oh, it makes me tear up. That song is just so perfect for the end of this film. It just brings it all together. It's got a great ending. It's a great song, which she wrote for this movie, by the way. And at the end, it's got, in the end credits, it's got a big list of, a big load of cameo appearances from random people. Some of them who are in John Hughes films. You got like John Candy, Bill Murray, Matthew Broderick as Ferris is in it for like 2 seconds. Who else is in it? Loads of people. It's fun watching the end credits to this, and they're all coming up with baby names. Yeah, it's just a good film. Not one of my favourite John Hughes films, but it's very good. And you get a scene selection. So that is that. Another one I got for cheap, couldn't resist. $3.99 is the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy. I really like that cover. It's just a simple simple set like the Naked Gun trilogy. It just comes out in, it's got this slipcase and then it's got a basic Paramount digipack. And you have Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2 and 3. And I'm a big fan of the first one. I don't even know if I've seen 2 and 3. I've got a feeling I've seen at least one of them, but nothing that would... I've got no memory, so I don't count it as seeing it. But yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 1 is brilliant. So I couldn't resist that for that price. Not much to say on that. Eddie Murphy when he was good. Okay, then I got The Future Is Unwritten, Joe Strummer. It is a documentary about the life of Joe Strummer. I saw it in Asda for £4, and it had a slipcase with it, which is a plus. And I like the Clash. Clash are cool, so I don't really know much about Joe Strummer, but I like these types of films most of the time, and it's got positive reviews and stuff here. I watched it earlier and it was brilliant. It was really engaging. It's 2 hours long, and just the whole time I was, especially like the early stuff, like the beginning of punk and stuff like that, you just got the feeling like you were there, and it just really set the mood. And they used like Joe narrate. They used what am I trying to say? He used basically his voiceovers from a radio show he did. They used that to narrate the film, much like they did with Tupac Resurrection. They used kind of interviews and stuff for him to narrate that film. So I think that works really well. And they had footage, like unseen footage of him in the studio, and at the end, not at the end, but excuse me. Throughout the film, they're interviewing all these people that were in his life, you know, from the early days throughout. Even people like Johnny Depp, Martin Scorsese. Who else was there? There was a bunch of people, basically. And they're all around like a campfire. All the interviews are taken outside, and at the end, or it comes to the conclusion that when he, later on in his life, he just loved to be around campfires with all, you know, all different people, and that was a nice touch. But no, it's just really interesting, and they weren't afraid to, you know, point out the bad things about him. It was just all around. It was an all-round documentary, basically. And then there were so many interviews. There's like, as a special feature, they've got like 100 minutes of other interviews that never made it into the film. So yeah, it's pretty good. So that's the slipcase, and then it's nothing really, just a disc. Really good film, really interesting guy, and the way it's made is just really good. Great documentary.